One of my earliest memories, later confirmed by a converted Super 8 videotape to VHS, was me as a 2-year-old in a crib, rocking back and forth, trying to get out, watching my sister on a rocking horse, having the time of her life. And I wanted so desperately to get out of my crib and ride on that rocking horse, but somewhere along the line, I guess my parents agreed, and so cut to me on the video horse, having the time of my life, rocking away, and then the next frame, me on the floor, crying my eyes out, my sister Helena riding back on the rocking horse, video still rolling. That was my earliest memory, later confirmed on this Super 8 tape, because I'm that old. But my next memory, a bit more concerning, because it would trigger a series of events that would bring me to where I am now. And I guess, hi, I'm Melinda. If I'm going to share my life unedited and unapologetically, then I should probably start at the beginning. When I was 3, we were at a lake and I was drowning. And I just remember tossling under the water, and I couldn't come up. And the next thing I know, there's a hand attached to an arm attached to a man pulling me out of the water, demanding to know where my mother was. And I pointed to a figure sitting on the beach with my sister on a beach towel, completely unaware of what had just happened. So the man walked me over to where Alice was sitting, and I remember them having angry words, to which, of course, her reaction was to angrily pack me and my sister up and leave the beach, because, of course, that's the natural flow, at least at the time. When I was 4, Alice called Helena and I into her bedroom and said, "I have something to tell you. Both of you come here." So we marched into her bedroom as instructed, and she said, with no lead-in or no preamble per se, to say, "You're adopted." And I remember looking at Helena and saying, "What does that mean?" To which she said, without breaking her gaze on Alice, "She's not our real mother." And in an instantly, everything changed. I knew my world was changed forever. I didn't know how, but I knew it was going to be different. I didn't have the language for any of it at the time, but I remember how I felt. So I thought it would be, really cool to try this out around kids my age. By the time I was 5, I was already trying to understand where I fit in, but I didn't. I didn't fit in anywhere. So by the time I got to kindergarten, I blurted out into the classroom, "I'm adopted." And you could have heard a pin drop. I knew immediately. It was like one of those movies where literally time stops. Nobody's talking. Everybody's looking at me. My teacher's looking at me. My students are looking at each other. it was met with a variety of responses. Me too. And I'm, no, you're not. I was so mad. No, you're not. I am. My best friend of 5 years old, didn't believe me for the longest time. I never knew who I looked like. And at the time, the mantra was, who do you look like, your mom or your dad? And I could never answer that. I would find out years later, and that in and of itself is a great story. But the bottom line is, it didn't stop there. It just evolved. Apart from first grade, when my first true love, Chris Johnson, professed his undying love, undying love for me, I was bullied horrifically in school, just horrifically, because we were from the wrong side of the tracks, and Alice thought rather than having money to pay the heat bill in upstate New York in these horrendous winters, it would be better to have 3 horses that they likely couldn't afford. Having said that, my pony was my freedom. Her name was Dolly, and she was a heroic steed. She was my girl Friday. Home was not the happy place, school was, and anywhere my pony would take me was, until she got rid of her one day. I came home from school and my pony was gone. Dolly was gone. Nobody told me ahead of time. A girl at school told me that she was sold to a farm where she was being bullied mercilessly to the point that she tried to kick her way out of her stall. I went to her. I found the farm and I went to her and stood at the edge of the pasture to apologize and to say goodbye. And she was in knee-deep mud up to her, I forget what they're called, hallux, her ankles. And she just stared at me and she didn't come to me, and it was heartbreaking. By that time, it was just me and my sister and my parents. Living in a terribly, terribly narcissistic environment. Narcissistic rage. Every single important moment was met with some kind of defeat, destruction, and agony. In high school, my graduation, college, apart from my dad's visits when he would take me and Kathleen to lunch at Friendly's on a Saturday, I was close to my dad. Michael, Archangel Michael, my friend Michael in school, who tragically died early, having been hit by a drunk driver at Notre Dame University crossing the street, who came to me. In my mind, I didn't know that I was clairaudient, clairvoyant, clair everything, until I was in Spain, and it was the anniversary of the day of his death, and he came to me. That's kind of a cool story. We'll get into one day. To the birth of my first child, when I excitedly called Alice to tell her and was met with, "Oh, God, Mindy." Mindy was my nickname. Melinda's my name. A name that I asked them repeatedly to stop using, and they just refused. But anyway, that's the beginning. That's the broad overview. I'm here to share with you how I overcame many different obstacles in my life and how I became the person that I am. And if it helps you in any way, then again, it's a win. A huge win. Any one person, anywhere in the world. I am real, raw, unedited, just obviously at this point in my life, I was called to share my story by my guides, by the divine, by God. And that's what I'm doing. So when I say I'm rebuilding my life in real time, this didn't just start yesterday. And if I didn't have the grit, the determination, and the positive outlook and sense of humor that I've had throughout, I dare say I would have been gone a long time ago. We soldier on. Thank you for being here.